Hello, everyone. I was a little distracted with that intro. I have to tell you, I am just so honored to be on the team with John Shoemaker because he creates the most fabulous intros. My name is Tasha Burke-Peart. I'm a technology program specialist with the Department of Educational Technology, the School District of Palm Beach County, Florida. Welcome. This session today is called From Mundane to Motivating Using Tech to Encourage Your Students. And we have some wonderful presenters here today, and I'm going to bring them up in just a minute. Before I do that, I want to go over a couple of housekeeping things. If you were in the opening session this morning, it's the same information. If you didn't get a chance to hear the opening session, we just want you to know that the chat as for you to communicate with one another, put your questions in there, comments, feedback. We want to hear from you. We have moderators in the chat with a wrench by their name. So if you see anybody, replying to you with the little wrench by their name, that's who they are. They're my wonderful teammates from the Department of Educational Technology. If you like what you see, please give us a thumbs up. We want a thumbs up. And you can also subscribe to our channel down below. Go ahead and hit that bell so that you can be notified of future videos. Finally, we do want to know where you're coming from. So in the chat, let us know where you are joining us from. And be sure to, if you use Twitter, be sure to use the hashtag PBCTechConf, PBCTechConf on Twitter, and then tag us at EdTechPBC. We love to hear from you. So now I am going to bring all of the wonderful presenters up: Montana Lowe, Adrianna Hunt, Lauren Tyson, and Karina Cousins. They're going to start the presentation. So I'm going to add their presentation to the stream, take mine down, and enjoy the presentation.
Hi, everyone. My name is Karina, and I'm going to be sharing with you today on some ideas that I use with my class to use data trackers, which has just been a really great way to get my students to engage with their data after they take a test. And so I just want to share with you some of those ideas. Adrianna, Lauren, and Karina are also going to be presenting today. And we want to have you guys join us using this hellosmart.com in another tab and the class ID that's listed below. The first thing that I want to share with you on our student-led data trackers are what they are and how they are useful. Adrianna, you can go ahead and go to the next slide. Students will use these trackers to help them see exactly which standards and skills they're proficient on after they take a test. And they will also see which ones that need more practice on, and they're going to be able to use them to compare to other tests as they go through the year. And then this is also great for us as teachers because it takes some of the data tracking off of us and it puts it in the students' hands, and we can use what they've created to help us make our groups, whether that's a heterogeneous practice group or if you want to do a skills-based group. We have access to that data at any time and we can just pull it up on Google Classroom. So the next thing I want to share is where to get the data. In our district, we have an awesome platform called Performance Matters, which pulls up reports for us to use. And you can see an example of what this report looks like on the right-hand side of the screen. There's a list of the standards that were tested, and then there's a performance analysis at the bottom so you can see which problems the students got correct or incorrect. I have used these for self-made assessments before. As you're making an assessment, the important thing if you're planning on using a data tracker is to just keep track of which standards match up with each problem. So after the tests have been taken, the next thing that you have to do is to actually make the tracker. So the first thing that I did was created a table at the top of the page, which lists all of the standards that the students are being tested on. And the next thing that I do is make a table right underneath that. And I just simply go through and I match the number of the problem to the standard that it belongs to. The students will then, so that version right there, just the blank tables, is what's going to go into the Google Classroom. And the students will then open their tracker on Google Classroom and insert emojis or happy face or exclamation point, whatever they want, on all of the problems that they got correct. And then they're going to go through and tally up the number correct under each standard. Something that I like to include at the bottom is just a little reflection piece that challenges the students to look at any patterns that they may notice about their data. When they're comparing it to previous tests, they can look at improvements that they have been made, or if you're conferring with students or they've received feedback on their strategies from the test, this is just a little spot for them to talk about what they need to continue to work on or a goal that they have moving into the next test. So this is an example of how you can use these trackers to make groups. Here I pulled up an example of the Unit 1 tracker on the bottom. And I also have an example of the next test we took, which is combined content from the first unit and the second. And so this is helpful for me because I can start to line these up and notice some things about this student's learning. So I can see that this student improved significantly on NBT 1.3 between the first test and the second test. And that was because after that Unit 1 test, I saw on this student's data tracker that they needed support with that standard. But when they retested on it the next time, they got that question correct. I can also see that they're pretty solid with NBT 1.1 and 1.2, so that's not an area of concern for me. But the areas that I do want to continue to look at are the OA 1.3 and the NBT 2.4. I went ahead and put an example of what this data tracker looks like in Google Classroom. So if you're interested in seeing it in that format, feel free to join my example Google Classroom. And if you have any questions about how I make these trackers, feel free to reach out and I'm happy to help. If you guys have any questions about this that I can answer now, go ahead and put those questions in the comments. And in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our next speakers, which are Miss Adrianna and Lauren, and they're going to be talking you through how to use Lumio to engage students.
Good morning, everybody. Adrianna, I was following along with the comments in our chat room over here, and because of the student pacing, some of them got stuck on the first screen. So maybe we want to flip it to teacher for just a little bit to get them caught up on the activities.
Sorry, guys. For those of you just joining us as well, we are running this presentation through hellosmart.com. And we have a class code. If you guys could join us for this next part, especially because we really wanted to make this as interactive as possible so that you guys could get the most out of today. Our next session is about Lumio Smart. So that is the platform that we're going to be using. If you guys need it one more time, it's now at the bottom of your screen in that banner. So when you go to hellosmart.com, you're going to join as a guest today, and you can just use that class code to join. If you can already see in my top left-hand corner of the screen, we have 22 of you already connected. So thank you. For those of you that are connected, you should see this screen right now. So if you still have questions about those awesome data trackers, go ahead and throw them up on the board. So that way we can go back through and look at them later. And we would love to address and answer any of those questions for you guys. So I loved those data trackers. It's such a neat idea.
That is, and that'll go perfectly with some of the data that you can get through Lumio.
Yeah.
And if you're not joined, you definitely want to join because these activities are incredibly fun for me as an adult. So it's obviously going to be fun for your students as well. So go ahead and get logged in and we will show you some of the cool features within the platform.
All right, so learning in Lumio. So we're going to talk to you guys about a resource that's available in our Palm Beach County district. We're going to give you some information. You guys are going to get some time to kind of play through some of those examples so that you guys can really get a hands-on experience of what the students would see. So there are going to be times where I am going to split my screen in the presentation just so you guys can see what is going on in the teacher view and what's going on that student view. Because I know a lot of us sometimes wonder, what do the kids see? Because it looks different than what the teacher sees.
Okay, so for anyone who has used Hello Smart in the past, this is the same platform. They updated and changed the name, I believe it was this summer, recently, not that long ago. So it is the Smart Learning online platform. Some of you might have known it as SLSO. And basically, it's like any other platform. You can create lessons in it or use already created lessons and make it more interactive and engaging for students. That's kind of the key of Lumio. So here's a list of just a small portion of the things that you can do on this platform. There's literally tons. There's game-based activities. You can do handouts for students so they can work together or independently. One of the really cool things about it is this can be done anywhere. You don't have to have students in front of you in order to present a lesson to them. So I relied on it, excuse me, a lot in the past year when we had to do blended learning. You can use it for additional practice, enriching and reteaching, and just lots of other things.
Yeah, and there's you guys would need a whole day training in Lumio to go through all the different things they could do. If you do have it available to you, I would suggest clicking and just playing around when designing a lesson. But like Lauren had mentioned, my favorite thing about Lumio was getting to take all of those pre-made things that we found over virtual learning, your PDFs, your Google Slides, and having the ability to just upload it and create it into worksheets for the kids. So we're going to take you guys through a little bit of each of these throughout our presentation. So the first part about getting started with Lumio is going to be building or creating your lesson. So like Lauren had mentioned, over the summer when they updated this, there's now a search box. So if you kind of don't really know where to start, where to get resources from, but you know your standard, you know your content that you want to build that lesson on, you can search for pre-made resources. Those pre-made resources come from people at other schools. They can come from people from other counties that are using SMART as well. So that's really cool that you can go in and research those and preview them and decide if you want to add those to your lesson. You can also update anything and upload your own PowerPoints, any kind of PDF forms. All of that is available to you, but this is the screen that you're going to see when you first start creating that lesson. So you have templates to choose from. You have YouTube videos. I love, love, love the YouTube video feature because you can put videos in there without ads, guys, without the ads. So that way the kids are literally not leaving the platform. They're watching that video right there, and it is just the video, and then you're ready to move on to the next activity.
And they can't click into other videos while they're in that lesson, which is a really nice feature.
Yes, I love that. It's just what you want that video to be, and then that's it. Another thing that I know I've utilized as a math person in the classrooms is their manipulatives. They have manipulatives for math, but they also have the letter ones for our primary grades. If you're working on those kids building words with letters, kind of like the old magnets on the fridge, they can do that right in Lumio as an activity so that you can go in and see what they're working on. Our reading teachers, science teachers, anybody else that uses a lot of graphic organizers, that's a great way to go throw in a graphic organizer to connect to that content and have the kids fill out graphic organizers as well. So like I said, we're going to go through some of these. Our favorite ones, I think Lauren and I agree, are the game-based activities. So we have a lot of those planned for you guys today so you guys can experiment. but it's great for exit tickets. It's literally a one-stop shop to build everything you need. The best thing at the end, if you have teams that collaborate on lessons, you guys can build a basic shell of what you want in the unit. And then you guys can share out a copy so that each of you can take a copy of that shell. You have everything you just worked on, but now you can customize it to the way that you need it for your classroom.
And that it also makes it really nice for if you're in a grade level with other teachers, each teacher can build a lesson within Lumio and you can share it amongst your colleagues. And 90% of the work is already done for you. So it's a really great collaborative tool for teachers to share lessons as well.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And I teach with a dual language team as well. So if you're building it in English, but then I have a dual language teacher that needs to add that Spanish component, when he has his own copy, he can go in there and make the Spanish parts that he needs. So we're going to go ahead and try some out. Lauren's going to talk about how she uses a little piece of each of these things in her classroom. And then we're going to have you guys go ahead and try it on your own slide or on your own screen.
So one of my favorite things to do was to take those pre-made resources that I had either built myself, gotten from the district or other teachers, or even teachers pay teachers. I know we're not allowed to say that anymore. Sorry. But taking those PowerPoints or PDFs, you can import them right into Lumio, and then you can take out the slides that you don't need and just leave the slides that you do want to work with. So last year I taught first grade, and this was one of the math activities that we did, identifying equal parts of shapes. I just uploaded the PDF. I took out the slides I didn't want, and I built in some dynamic activities for them. The first one was a shout it out, where I just asked the students, what do you already know about equal? And then the picture right next to it is the students participating. So you can see from the kids, they are 100% engaged. Everybody's working off of their own Chromebook. I also had some virtual students that aren't pictured who were able to participate. And on the smart board, all of their responses started popping up with whatever they typed about what they knew about what equal means. So it was a great way for them to kind of collaborate, or if somebody was really stuck, they could look up and get an idea off the board and help jog their memory. So this was a great introduction to the activity to preview and kind of get that prior knowledge activation going.
So we're going to have you guys go ahead and try it out, and I'm going to switch so you guys can kind of see what it looks like on the teacher version and the student device. So those of you that are connected with our Hello Smart, you should be seeing a shouted out activity. Notice that it says it's not running right now because the teacher has to start it for the class in order for you guys to actually be able to respond. So I'm going to go ahead and start it. And on my side as a teacher, I'm seeing the question that I'm asking of my students. You guys can start responding to it on your screen. But as a teacher, you're now reading the statement for them. You know, your guys' is pretty simple today. What's your favorite thing about fall season? And on the right side, as a student, and we can already see some people answering. I love it. As a student, you can, as a teacher, sorry, I made it so that you could either put text or you could add an image. So even for, you know, just to kind of give that creativity, just a little bit for spelling purposes, you know, maybe you want an image that reminds you of the fall season instead of just words. So it's just a different way that you could have used to shout it out. I know in the example that Lauren had just shown you, her students were using a text, so they were writing what they knew about equal. When you're building this activity on the Lumio platform, you have the option of how many responses the students can give you. And also if you want it to be a text or an image response. So just a different idea of kind of the variations that you could do with Lumio, because we all teach math today, but we want you guys to kind of see how it could relate to any content area that you might teach. So I see some pictures coming in. Lauren, what's your favorite thing about fall season?
Definitely football. However, I don't see the option for text on the shout it out, which is maybe why it's only giving you the image option, which is maybe why we're not getting any text responses. But definitely football. Football is my favorite thing about fall.
Okay, I see some people put the autumn. Dr. Seuss. Okay, I love it. Roses. Oh, the flowers. Yes, all the flowers. I think my favorite thing growing up north was like we got like that hot apple cider and the caramel apples was probably my favorite.
And the leaves changing color and falling. We don't really get to experience that down here in South Florida quite as much.
Yeah, which is really sad. I see some pumpkins coming in. I got pumpkin season. Oh, this pumpkin spice is real, y'all. The pumpkin spice. I was waiting for somebody. Oh, Lauren, somebody got your football covered right there. And as they're popping up on my teacher side, notice that I can see your guys' kind of like abbreviations on top. So you can kind of see what students chose what. You can also start organizing them. So this is also great that if you have a lot of people that have, you know, the same kind of response, that you're able to like kind of start grouping them together to show kind of what the class's majority picking or saying or choosing.
It would be great on the smartboard too to let your students come up and find a way to group the responses if you're not already giving them a preset like all the yeses go here, all the nos go there. But if with an activity like this, have them come up and see how many different ways they could sort the different pictures.
Yes. And I noticed in the chat, yes, I do have it set to the image only because like I said, I wanted you guys to see. So the last shouted out where we had questions about the Google trackers, that was a shouted out as well, but you guys were able to use text. So you could write sentences and post them. So this one, I wanted to show you guys how you could also answer using just images with just an image option. So, but that is something as a teacher, when you're designing this lesson, if you notice that the image thing really didn't go well, maybe next time you do this activity, you want it to be a text one. Or if you want, you know, to switch it up from text to an image, you can go back and forth. So it just gives you more of a variety. And I wanted you guys to kind of see what that would look like as a teacher and as a student. All right, so I do have this set to a teacher-led and a student-led version. Right now, I'm at teacher-led, so it happens. We're at school, guys. So if I click through my presentation, it is going to automatically move the students with you as well. So you won't have that student who is spending forever still on this slide trying to put all the pictures and figure it out. So you really want to give that wait time because that's student teacher led. When you progress, the student screens are going to progress as well. So we're going to go to our next topic that we can do with Lumio.
So I stuck with the same lesson just for consistency to give you kind of an example. This was still the lesson on equal parts for first grade. There were examples in the first section of just some teaching slides that I pulled from that resource to show you what equal parts look like and unequal parts. And then as a group on the smartboard, I presented that last one, which was to circle all of the shapes that had 2 equal parts. And I would present it on the big smartboard screen, and I would go and circle maybe 2 or 3, and then have a student or 2 come up and circle. And then what's really fun is that I could take one of those slides and make it a handout for the students to work with collaboratively in groups or as an individual activity. So then it's coming from the I do to the we do to the you do, all within Lumio. Give me one second, sorry.
Yes, collaborative group activities are great. And that's a great progression to go from an I do of modeling to a we do, where now your kids are working together, and then to the I do to see what they can do.
So, and then if you want to just go ahead to the next slide and I can talk over them getting started on it. Once the students have the handout slide in front of them, they're able to modify, create, draw on their own screen. And the teacher gets a screen like the black bar with the student names on it, where you can kind of click into any child's name and see the real-time progress on the screen of what they're doing on their worksheet or handout. And you can kind of progress monitor and make sure, you know, everybody's getting started. If you pull up a kid and they're totally like just coloring all over the page, you can kind of redirect them in real time. There's no lag between what they're doing on their computer and what you're seeing on your screen. So even if you have virtual students who are working on a handout, you can click in and it's being just like being right over their shoulder, looking at what they're doing on the paper, which is a really awesome tool to use. Then as they finish, so on that last one was an example, sorry, Adrianna,
You're good.
of the individual student work where they had to partition a shape into 4 equal parts. And then when they were finished, they had to click done at the top. And as they were clicking done, a little green check mark pops up on my teacher's screen next to their name to let me know that they were finished with that activity. And then I can click into each individual child and see if they understood the content or not. Go ahead.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and let you guys try a collaborative activity. So on the collaboration space, there's a different icon. So it'll be this little green image. And you're able to set up teams. So if you wanted, based on how many kids you have, if you wanted individual teams, or you could have everybody on one team by themselves. Right now, I'm just going to put you guys into 8 teams and just kind of show you what the teacher sees.
There's so many of you. Thank you for joining us. That's great.
I love it. We got like 4 to 5 people on a team. And this is great too, because if you have those students that probably should not collaborate together, or you have those students that are going to master the content, maybe you want to have like those heterogeneous groups, you can also click and drag. So if I know that I don't want Sun in this group with Lisa, I can go ahead and just like move him to a different team, to a different team. And then before I'm ready to go ahead and start that activity. So you can kind of customize those groups based on, what you know about your students, or you can just have it randomized groups and start your workspace. So I'm going to go ahead and start it. I tried to do kind of a fun little activity. So on my teacher screen, I'm going to toggle back and forth again. So on your screen now, you're seeing the activity. So there is a math boggle. All the directions are here for them. It was just a worksheet that I uploaded as a PDF. And also I love this feature for my students to get oral presentation or need to kind of hear those directions maybe without you. As a resource person, I loved like recording the directions for them. So when they're working on this, they can go ahead and click play. So if you clicked play on your device, you should hear the directions of what you need to do on your Math Boggle space. So for this one, as you guys are kind of getting started, you're going to use those numbers connecting mathematically of any and all equations that you can make using those numbers.
Another fun thing is that if you do have a collaboration piece like this, you can ask the students to all pick a different color to use so that you can kind of track whose work was whose, as opposed to everybody having a black pen. They could go into highlighters or pick a different color, pick your favorite color to start drawing on your Boggle board. That way you can see who's done which pieces of the work.
Yeah, and we have pens and you have highlighters so that the students have options as well. They could also like add images or add text in there as kind of a response. So for this one, it's just kind of a pen and mark it up activity. But as a teacher now, I can also go in and see my different teams. So if I notice that team 5 over there is getting a little giggly, I want to make sure that they're all on task because we know that never happens. I want to make sure they're all on task, right? I can go ahead and click into that team and I can see what team 5 is doing. So team 5 right now doesn't really have anything marked up. So, but you can go ahead and either redirect them verbally, or my favorite thing, you can, as a teacher, go in and put feedback on their worksheet and they see it in real time. So if I want to like kind of remind them, hey guys, keep up the good work, you can just kind of keep up the good work. So they know you're always watching.
Adrianna, if you want to click into 3, that's where I'm at, and there is some work on that one, so you can kind of show them.
Oh, and we got team 5 is now that I checked on them, now we got some work coming through. All right, team 5. You said team 5.
Team 3.
There we go. Ooh, we got some good stuff going on in there. So for this one, for like my students that maybe are having also difficulty with those directions, you can also, you know, kind of go over if you see anybody that's doing something incorrect the way it's supposed to be done, you can go in and clarify for them. As a teacher, you can also interact with them. So sometimes I like to pop in on these activities and like add my response in there. And the students are like, where'd that come from? And I'm like, I got a point. I added a response. So like if I have a student that's scribbling, maybe they messed up, you know, go over with that highlighter real quick or eraser and just kind of help them edit their work if you need to. But at least it's their workspace. They're owning it. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get out of there. All right, guys, we're going to keep going for the sake of time. So again, as I move through, it's going to end it for you on your side, and you're going to see that on the student side as well over here. So we also have an individual activity. So that's what Lauren was talking to you about. So I'm going to go ahead and start it. And Lauren, you can go ahead and talk about the individual activities and how you use them.
So this is really similar to the collaborative activity. And you can do this with any PDF, any Google slide. You can create your own worksheet. And there's just one little button that you create to turn it into either a collaborative or an individual handout. And then when the students click in on it, they'll be able to complete the activity. As a teacher, what I like to do is click on the one that says teacher handout in the bottom of the screen to show the students what the activity looks like and either go through the directions or model it a little bit for them before I release them to do their own work. And then just like before, you can click into any student to see how they're progressing with that task. You can end it for them. You can have them click done when they're finished and they'll get that little check mark. Very, very similar to the collaborative handouts.
And I'm also showing you as a student kind of what you guys could be doing or should be doing. Again, for this one, I included the text directions, but this was a great like visual one using the manipulatives that we had talked about at the beginning as one of the options. The manipulatives do include kind of a hundreds chart. So that way the students have the interactive, again, right there in front of them. So if they need it, it is there for them for support. If they don't need it, then they just work on whatever you need to work on the side. So for this one, like I don't know if you saw me, but I was like dragging the counters to kind of show how I got to the number 19 from 14, and then working backwards too, showing them how they can move in jumps of tens, right? So I love these little counter things. So cute. I already see that Carl has turned it in. So now if I'm done my worksheet, I can go up here, click that done button. But I love it though, because if like I didn't answer number 3, this is the one where I don't need to wait for the teacher. So I don't need to wait for like Lauren to come and say, oh, you didn't work on number 3. I already realized I didn't do number 3. So I can go right back up here and click edit, guys. So I'm able to kind of get that worksheet right back and finish my work and then go return it in. So I know on Google Classroom, that was one of my hardships was like, guys, the mark is done. But then I'm like, you guys, you didn't even do the work. Like, what are you doing? So then you had to return it all. So Lumio is great in that the students are able to own that of, I'm going to turn it in, but if I didn't complete my work, let me go ahead and edit it and finish it. So as you can see on the teacher side over here, if I have this running while I'm pulling a small group, this is great for me to see who is on task and who's completing their work independently. So I can make sure that all of my students, by the time they leave today, they're done. I have all of their work turned in. For my ones that are turned in, I can go and click any student's name, see how they did. And again, I can provide them text feedback. I can put a picture. I know I like to like look at the little smileys and throw a smiley on there if they did it correctly. So this is kind of that collection of worksheets without having the tangible worksheets, which I love. So I'm going to get out of Barbara's handout. I have a few more students that haven't turned theirs in yet. I'm going to turn mine in, and now I have a check mark by my name. So I am done this activity.
I think we're running a little low on time, so we might have to move through the next couple activities a little bit more quickly than we want.
Yeah, sorry. There's so, like I said, a whole day. Yeah, sorry. So this one, again, as an independent activity, I wanted just to show you how I kind of pulled up a PDF, make it a PDF, and it's just like a worksheet without doing all the copying. it's a right there thing. It's nothing I pre-made on Lumio. I literally just pulled one of my PDFs so that the students could go ahead and respond kind of like an exit ticket.
Now to the fun part, the games. So all of these interactive games are, the shell of them is already in Lumio. And you can pick any of these activities. They literally take minutes to make. All you have to do is throw your content questions into the game, and all the animation and the graphics and everything are already done for you. So I'm not going to explain all of them. There is a description under the name of each game. Some of my favorites I highlighted in the pictures. My students and I absolutely love the monster quiz. That is hands down our favorite one. They get very competitive with it, but it gives them that motivation. Let's just quick scroll through.
Okay. So first one you have is place value matchup game. So here they have the place value name and then the place value using the numbers. So they kind of have to drag the 10. Sorry, they have to put it in the little hole. The 10 with the 10, the correct name. So you guys can do this as kind of like a whole group activity. If they get it right, if they get it wrong, it kind of shows you what they matched, but then they can go at the end and say check matches, and I can see I got one wrong, right? So I can go and make sure that I'm, getting them correct. So that's one activity that we like to do whole group or as a center, just have the kids interacting on the screen. Another one we talked about was fill in the blanks. And again, these can go with any content area. You put in your own content into one column and you determine what the students are matching it with. So if I wanted the kids to round their numbers, they're clicking and dragging this, checking it, and you have the option of how you want to grade it, either instantaneously or they have to wait till they've matched everything to check it. Sorry, trying to go as quick as I can. Check my answers. I can see what I got right and what I got wrong. So if I wanted to do it again, I just push the refresh button and we try again as a class. The choice board for kind of our done thing. Students, you guys can create choice boards. When the students are done, flip over a card as a class, and that determines what everyone's working on if they're done for the day. And as our response, go ahead, Lauren.
So one of the other features that they have in Lumio is the class response, which you could use as a formal assessment. You could use it as an exit ticket. You could use it just as an informal assessment to see if they understood the content of the lesson. So I did this for the same lesson that I had showed you earlier. Does this shape have equal parts, true or false? And then the students will go through and pick their answers, and you'll see the live results come up in your wheel. I think we have an example, so you'll be able to see a little bit more clearly.
We do, but because of time, I don't know if we're going to be able to do it. Sadly, I know. The exit tickets, you guys can also throw in links in Lumio if you want exit tickets done, through a Google form or some other type of assessment, which I know Karina is going to be talking to you guys about, is those Google forms. You could throw QR codes, whatever you guys want onto Lumio. You can literally insert it. Like I said, it's a one-stop shop. So we did two different types of assessments. The first one was just a normal quiz. Everyone was on their own, but then the monster quiz, like we said, was our favorite. Kids are put into teams and they can compete on their own devices to kind of see which group or which student's going to have the highest score. You can do monster quiz either independently, so everyone's on their own team, or you can do it collaboratively if you have groups going on. So it's kind of like a cool Kahoot. But the kids can see when they're getting questions correct, and then it picks those top 3 students. And then after the 3 placements, it stops labeling them so nobody feels like they were last or that they lost. But you really want to look for like those top 3 performing. So we do have a share 3 things. So in the chat box, if you guys want to go ahead and share anything you guys learned, if you guys have any questions about Lumio that Lauren and I can answer for you guys, we would love to. But we are going to switch it over to Karina so she can talk to you guys about Google Forms today.
All right. Thank you. Hi, everyone. We're going to kind of go through this pretty quickly. So just go on to the next slide for me. My name is Karina Cousins. I'm a 5th grade teacher. I teach all subjects at Sunset Palms Elementary. So let me get right to it. I'm talking today about a branching form. And what is the difference between a regular form and a branching form? Basically, a regular form, a Google form, is sequential. A branching form can take you down different pathways. What you'll need for a branching form, though, is different sections. I want to give a warning, though, that when you use a branching forms, it can quickly become overwhelming. When creating them for the first time, you've got to keep it simple. Use 3 sections with 1 branching question. Go ahead on to the next slide. I won't, and the next one. Thank you. I won't go through all the steps. There you'll see a slide later on showing the steps of them, but I want to talk about my purpose for my branching form. What I wanted to do was take a standard that students had a hard time with, rounding decimals to any place value in 5th grade. I wanted to know what was giving them trouble. Could they round to the nearest whole number? Could they round to the nearest 10th? Could they round to the nearest 100th? I have found that they can't always, just because they can do one doesn't necessarily mean they can do all of them. Go ahead to the next. Here's a quick kind of screenshot of what the branching form looks like. You have questions, and you can see that based on their answers, they will go to a different section in the Google form. They might not see every question. They will see based on their answers, and it'll take them to a different section. Go ahead, next. When students answer the questions incorrectly, they're taken to this tutorial section. I like to call this a tutorial room. And I have a link there that will take them to a Bitmoji room. Now, I will say the Bitmoji is just purely for fun and engagement. It has nothing to do with the actual content. But I want to get to the actual form and the data that you've collected. So let's go ahead to the next slide. Here's what it looks like. Next slide. All right, here we go. Here's the good stuff, right? Once students have completed the form, you get all this amazing information with small groups created for you. So that's a huge time saver. Starting here and on the next few slides, I've broken the data up so you can see a bit more close up. So please note on this slide that I highlighted in green the incorrect responses. Those are the students I would pull to reteach rounding to the nearest whole number. Notice only 2 students answered the questions shown here because they were the only 2 students who got the questions wrong. So you can see that that side of it has been, on the right side, has been filled up. The other students in my class jumped to the next section of the form. Here you'll see the ones I've highlighted that got the answers incorrect were highlighted in blue. And again, that gives me the information that I need for my small groups. We can see that those who rounded to the nearest 10th got some correct, but there were inconsistencies here as well. So this is so helpful as a teacher because I can see that 2 students are still rounding to the nearest whole number instead of rounding to the nearest 10th. So there's one small group. But I want to pull at least the last 3 students that got the answer incorrect. I want to pull them and practice rounding to the nearest 10th with numbers in the thousands. This gives my small group a very focused target and again meets the students exactly where they are. So you can see again in the next section and reteaching that needs to happen. Go ahead on to the next slide. And go ahead on to the next slide. You can try it out too. It's easier to see it in action. There's the link where you can see how I set it up. And if you have any questions, you can reach me through my email, karina.cousins@palmbeachschools.org, and follow me at Twitter at Mrs. Cousins5.
This is so much great information, man. Oh man, I hate that we have to stop it because there's so much that you guys are sharing, and I really appreciate it. I'm going to do a really quick closing because we do have a prize to give away. I want to remind you that session B starts in a few minutes at 11 o'clock, and we have a lot of really great sessions to choose from. Then we'll move into lunch and networking. Please be sure to visit our exhibit halls, A and B. We have some great sponsors there, and we're so grateful for them. So let's make sure that we visit, use the chat feature to pop in, say hi. And then we'll move into session C and session D. And then don't forget the closing session because we have another really good prize giveaway to give away. So, prize giveaway to give away. Make sure that you put PVC Tech Conf in the chat because I'm going to go ahead and get ready with this door prize. You must be present to win. We can't ship to any place but the US. So for our participants who are outside of the US, I'm sorry. Um, when your name is selected, whoever the lucky winner is, you're going to email John Shoemaker at palmbeachschools.org. That's John Shoemaker at palmbeachschools.org. I will put that back up again. Um, and today's door prize is a $25 Visa gift card from Cengage. Thank you very much, Cengage, for donating this prize. I think we are ready. We have about 27, 28 entries right now. I'm going to give it a little bit more time. Keep putting those entries in. You don't have to spam, just put it in one time. They do remove duplicates. So, who is our lucky winner? We have about 32 entries. I am going to draw because we're a little bit over time. So, let's see who is the winner. This is so fun. Who is the winner? Ah, and DeQuia McCoy, thank you very much. You are the lucky winner. And let me put that banner back up again so that you can have John Shoemaker's email address, johnshoemaker@palmbeachschools.org. Make sure that you email him. I'm going to bring our presenters back up because they had like some really, really, really good information to share. And then also, I'm sure they want to tell you about how you can access the presentation that they did.
Yeah, so thank you, Tasha. I dropped the link in. If you could send that into the comment section. I gave you guys all the links so that you have a copy of this lesson if you want to go back for all the information. We also included all of our email addresses and our Twitter handles if you guys want to kind of shoot stuff our way, questions, comments, how you guys utilize all these things in your classroom as well. But I had a great time with all of you.
Same. Please tag us if you're using any of our activities because we'd love to see them in action. And we hope that you and your students enjoy all of them. They're so much fun.
Thank you all very much. We appreciate it. And we'll see you in the next session.
Thanks for joining.